You're all set, Commissioner.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the June 23rd, 2022 Parks Recreational Community Service Commissioner regular meeting to order at 5:37 p.m. This meeting is taking place entirely by telecom conference via Zoom. The public is accessing this meeting via the Santa Ana YouTube channel or the city website. The commission members and I, along with the city staff and the recording secretary, are in different locations. Please bear with us as the technology may disrupt the flow of the meeting. Will the recording secretary please call roll?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Matthews. Commissioner Gomez.
Here.
Commissioner Nelson.
Here.
Commissioner Torreblanca.
Here.
Commissioner Wu.
Here.
Commissioner Herrera.
Present.
Commissioner Ramirez. You have a quorum, Commissioner.
All right. All right. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance. Flag. Sorry. Hello.
Go ahead, Commissioner. We can hear you.
Sorry. I pledge of allegiance to the flag. Mike, guys, can somebody help me out here? I'm drawing a blank.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Okay, next on the agenda is a time for public comments. Recording secretary, does anyone ask to speak?
Commissioner Nelson, I believe there is one public comment. That comment will be from Mr. Victor Mendez.
Okay.
Mr. Mendez, go ahead. You have 3 minutes for your comment. Mr. Mendez? Mr. Mendez, if you can hear us, we don't see a mic on your. Mr. Mendez, what we'll do at this point in time, we'll go ahead and move on. And as soon as you can have your mic working, please use the raise hand feature on the Zoom system, and we will get back to you on that. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. Items 1 and 2 are the minutes of the regular meetings from April 28th, 2022, and excused absences. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of April 28th?
I motion to approve. Commissioner Gomez.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll need a roll call on that. Commissioner Gomez?
Yeah.
Commissioner Nelson?
Yes.
Commissioner Torreblanca?
Yes.
Commissioner Wu? I see Commissioner Wu is still there. And
Yes.
Commissioner Herrera will have you abstain since this is your first meeting and you weren't a part of the last meeting. Duly noted.
Okay. That is the end of the consent calendar. Today we have one item under new business. I will turn this over to Recording Secretary Sandoval for item 3, which is the discussion of the history of OC's first LGBTQ plus Pride Parade in 1989 in Santa Ana at Centennial Park.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. At this point, let me take this opportunity to introduce new Commissioner Roberto Herrera. He represents Ward 3. Item number 3 was actually brought forth by Commissioner Herrera. Commissioner, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to the City of Santa Ana and the residents that are currently watching YouTube or on Zoom, or will see this video in the future. As I mentioned, my name is Roberto, a lifelong resident of Santa Ana, and really excited to serve as a commissioner for the City of Santa Ana. Being a Santanero, being a Latino, being queer are all identities that I encompass. And, you know, in this month, it's Pride Month, June, I ordered a book earlier this year, and it's A People's Guide to Orange County. And as a commissioner, I was like, ooh, maybe there's some history relating to parks. And sure enough, there was. And so this is how the discussion came up for me in regards to what you do. So let me just read, I just want to read this historical piece here to talk a little bit about Pride and more specifically LGBTQ Pride. And so that's folks that are part of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, you know, additional folks as well. So in 1989, in September, Orange County hosted its first Pride Parade. Woo, 1989. I was not born yet. And so lots of folks attended this Pride Parade, and I think it's important to bring it up because the Pride Parade took place at Centennial Park. And, you know, there was some controversy at the time in relationship to whether it was okay for queer people to be out in public. And so, you know, there was folks not wanting queer folks out in public. And so this little story here kind of summarizes what happened. Thousands attended Orange County's first gay pride parade at Centennial Park in Santa Ana in 1989. A 2-day event marking the occupation of public space by the Orange County LGBTQ community. At the corner of Mohawk Drive and Edinger Avenue, disputes broke out between what the Los Angeles Times called more than 50 militant gays and fundamentalist Christians. Hecklers shouted, "Repent, repent, repent," and marchers responded, "Kiss, kiss, kiss." Some of the hecklers were frightened away by the sight of an impromptu queer kissing. Riot-clad Santa Ana police arrested 6 people from both sides. Anti-gay crusader Reverend Lou Sheldon announced, "Orange County is not the place to flaunt homosexuality. We'll fight to stop the homosexuals from staging another festival." That fight failed. With the leadership of Janet Avery, the parade and festival continued joyfully for another decade on the UC Irvine campus until the organization dissolved in 2001 and the festival went dark. After California voters passed Proposition 8 in 2008, attempting to ban gay marriage in the state of California, the Orange County Equality Coalition reestablished OC Pride in 2009, returning it to its birthplace in Santa Ana for about a decade before its current home in downtown Anaheim. Like other pride parades around the world, OC Pride continues to negotiate how queerness is performed, circumscribed, advocated, commodified, and expressed in public. To learn more, they list some articles here. And me, a researcher, went to go research the long history of Pride and kind of trying to dig in terms of like what was happening. You know, there's like a fight broke out in terms of people that weren't supportive of the queer community, and then, you know, the queer community is out there as well. So I try to figure out what was going on during this time. In early May, so that Pride Parade took place in September. In May, the LA Times reports that this gay event may be inappropriate for a park. This was by the mayor at the time. He mentioned that it would be inappropriate use of the park. That was back in May, and our mayor at the time, his name was Daniel E. Young. And it didn't stop there. So in May 12th, 1989, the LA Times reports that there are folks that are not in support of this event. So they wanted the city to revoke a permit for the Pride Parade. So in February, the organizers of the Pride Parade were able to get a permit. When folks found out that there was going to be a Pride Parade, they tried to force the city to revoke. A small group of folks tried to revoke this permit. The city attorney at the time mentioned that that would be a violation of First Amendment rights because the LGBTQ community was able to get a permit, and that revoking this permit would open up the city to lawsuits. And I say that, I bring up this history because I was there when the city of Santa Ana was raising the flag earlier this month. And on our Instagram for the city of Santa Ana, we made 2 separate posts, one with the video and one with the picture. If you go to those Instagram posts, you will see the large amounts of hate, anti-gay comments that are made on the Instagram. For me, I felt a sense of duty to respond to those comments because not only am I a Santanero, I'm also queer and I'm also a public official. So I found it upon myself to respond to those folks. Not only that, I also, the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission at the time in 1989 was against the city of Santa Ana hosting Pride at Centennial Park. Less than 30 years later, here I am, a queer parks commissioner. Who would have thought, right? And I don't know if there's been folks before me. I'm sure there will be folks after me who are part of the LGBTQ community. So I share this history because a lot of that hate we're still facing and across our country. In Texas, they're trying to ban drag queens from reading to children. We have those events here in Santa Ana, and I'm proud that we do. I'm proud that we do so much to uplift the needs of the LGBT. We can be doing more, but the steps that we have taken, I think, are a measure of the progress that we made. So I want to motion and kind of have our city recognize the history of Pride. And I can share my research. One of the things that I was thinking about was maybe creating a website, maybe under the city website, maybe under Parks and Recs, where it lists this history of our LGBTQ history. I also thought of maybe a plaque right there at Centennial Park for a 35th anniversary. I don't know, next year is going to be the 34th anniversary. In 2024, it will be the 35th anniversary. So I want us to work with the OC Pride organizers to see if we can bring back Pride to Santa Ana. And so those are my comments. I just really wanted to put on the record the history and the direction that the city can take in terms of honoring Pride organizers, from 1989. But if there's any questions or for my fellow commissioners discussion, I welcome it freely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, sorry, Commissioner Torreblanca here. So just to follow up, I got a little lost at the very end. I mean, I really appreciate you bringing this all forward. I know with June, with Pride Month, there's a lot of celebratory. I mean, I'm a lifelong ally. There's a lot of really good feelings, but like you said, there's a lot of negative that comes with it. And so what exactly is it that you were interested in? You said you wanted some sort of plaque or a page about the history or with like resources? Or what is it that you had in mind?
No, great question, Commissioner Torreblanca. I think originally what I had in mind was documenting the history. And so through that, it's listing out the LA Times articles. There are about 6 or 7 of them. And then there's also pictures from archives that I'm also requesting so I can submit it into public record. So I just want to have an archive. I know the library has hosted events in relationship to Pride. So if it means like uplifting, hey, this is the history, it's a little shaky, but it is what it is. And this is where we are now, right? So that's the first, I guess, motion is to create a list of resources, a history timeline that the city can host on its website. And then a separate motion is more, I guess, the same, I don't know, this motion things, but I guess trying to honor the organizers from that time. And so if it means placing a plaque at Centennial Park, historical first Pride in Orange County took place right here, or something like that. So those are just kind of, I think things that came to my mind that we can work towards, for the 34th and 35th Pride annual event.
Yeah, I mean, I love that idea. There's a lot of erasure that comes with the community. Santa Ana is a big historic city, and everyone here is really proud of the history of Santa Ana. And with that, I mean, we know about all these people. I think it's important to teach the youth about people that represent them, people that are like them. I've gotten a chance to speak at gay straight alliances at some schools. And I really see that within the kids that they're like, oh, like it's great to see people like us. And it's great to see people like us succeeding and people that we can relate to. There's a lot of erasure of gay icons just people in the spectrum of icons. There's a lot of erasure of that history. I love that you're bringing it up. I think it's good tidings moving forward.
Yeah, I'd like to add to this a little bit because I mentioned I'm actually up in Boise, Idaho right now. And what they've done in Boise is regarding just Gay Pride, the month of June and celebrating it. I would say I'm here with 18, 13-year-old boys that are playing soccer, and there's flags everywhere. There's, it's actually been very lots of great questions and conversations that I think help them understand what this means, and as well as we could, and Santa Ana could encompass this into by kind of flooding the streets with the flags and it really, I think, creates a sense of kind of reality that this is what our world should look like. And how do we, as much as a plaque would be great, I think if we lined every street with rainbow flags that had 35 on it, and create some in questions and what's this mean? And I think that would really, I think it's beneficial. I mean, you really see how they've done it here. And I've been to Idaho before, and the parts of Idaho I've been to have not been very encompassing of anybody that's not race or ethnicity or whatever. It's different. But Boise has done a great job of really making this celebrating, and the history, and it's been great. So I think that's how we should do it as a commission or as a city. If we can figure out a way to really find a way to celebrate and create the questions to be able to dictate how, and talk about the history and what it's meant and what it means to somebody who wasn't even born during that time, right? I mean, that's the stuff that we need to kind of try and figure out. I think we can go bigger than just the plaque, right? I mean, plaque's going to get foot traffic that walks by there, but we're, let's aim bigger. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. Just to reiterate, this is just an item for discussion, and the direction that has been received is at this point in time is to create a list of timeline recognizing the history, and then also to create some sort of a plaque to honor the organization. Is that correct, Commissioner Herrera?
That is, the plaque is to organize, recognize the historical component of Pride, the first Pride in Orange County. And then, with Commissioner Corey's comments, I did like the flag idea in terms of laying out a 35. And so, I don't know, maybe we can have a city-sponsored event. Maybe we can city-sponsor Pride, in 2024. But William, I don't know if you have anything else, sorry.
That's okay, thank you, Commissioner. No, I'm making my notes here, and then what we'll do is myself and Manager Pagano, I'm sure that we'll get together and kind of look at the notes and go from there. Thank you for your comment today.
Great, and I can make myself available to provide the resources and the information that I've gathered thus far.
Duly noted, thank you. Commissioner Nelson, before we continue to the next item, I do believe that we do have our caller for public comments that was not successful earlier. We can go ahead and go back to that if you are fine with that, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Caller with the last 3 numbers of 010, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to provide your comment. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sandoval, and thank you for your cooperation. Well, my name is Victor Mendez. I'm a disabled senior citizen here living on a fixed income Social Security here at the senior area here at First and Tustin. And I want to make Santa Ana my life. I think as crazy as it stands, I just want to live out my life here. I'm even thinking of bringing my son, my grandson, and my granddaughter or whoever, and just try to maybe start another generation here in Santa Ana. I ran for city council, and for the last year and a half, I've been a fairly regular attendee at council meetings. I enjoy it. I've made my comments. I've had some successes. I've gotten engaged. I did some work with COVID. I was very, very instrumental in trying to get the rental assistance program going for phase 3, which gave us proactive rental payments to people in need. So, I'm fairly engaged, or have been. So I went through the budget cycle this last month and a half, and I was very disappointed in an outcome. Not entirely, but it was an outcome that I was disappointed in. And also disappointed what I consider the lack of civic participation. So what does this relate to you guys? So what happened is that, as maybe you know or don't know, the cannabis tax is divided into 2 buckets. One is a 66% bucket of the estimated tax that goes to parks and community services, and the other third goes to the general fund, where it gets spread out to wherever. That 66 is really kind of portion for police and code enforcement. Well, this year, they extended the funding for police and code enforcement to include not just the industry protection, so to speak, but city-wide services. So that portion that was designated for parks and community services also got kind of reduced, because they included additional funds to cover citywide expenditures, specifically the police body cams police computers and also code enforcement. So the cannabis tax, 66%, which is net for parks and our children, is funding about 66% of the code enforcement staff here in the city. I don't know what you guys want to do about it. If you want to talk, I don't know what can be done. There is money that I identified, but it didn't go anywhere at the final discussion. I identified about $16 million in various places. They may be able to pull down $3 million. Okay. Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can.
May I have another minute here, please? You have that discretion. It's a very important topic.
I'll grant that if it's okay. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Anyway, so I would encourage you to find out more about this. There was about a $3 million extra that went to law enforcement and code enforcement, and the parks lost actually had a reduction from last year of about 2.8 million or something. And I advocated at least try to get that money back somehow, some way, and was unsuccessful. There was really no big support for it. I guess I was the only one looking at these numbers, but as a parks commissioner, I would encourage you, one, to talk to your respective council members about what happened and why. I know Councilman Hernandez and Mayor Sarmiento were very strong about this. I can't say the same for the other council members, but I'll let them speak for themselves. I'm just coming here as a citizen. I can't fight these battles the way I used to alone. I did a pretty good job. It was Victor against City Hall and everyone else. And I came up a little short, but I, definitely didn't give up without a fight. So I'm looking at this commission who's actually empowered to do these things, to talk to your council members and try to also make sure this doesn't happen again, or we do something in the future to make sure these services and these taxes that we voted in are meant for our children, our families, and our general community to improve our wellness. So thank you, sir. And, I hope you guys are able to take this information and move forward. Mr. Sandoval has my contact information, so I'll be glad to answer any question after the meeting, should you desire. Thank you, Mr. Sandoval.
Thank you, caller 010. Commissioner Nelson, you are set for the next item.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll look into that further. Thank you. Let's see here. Hold on one second. All right. Next on the agenda is informational items. No action is needed from the commission on these items. However, this is time for city staff to provide a brief summary of their reports for commissioners to ask questions. Okay, let's see here. Library staff report, Brian Sternberg.
Commissioner Nelson and members of the commission, Mr. Sternberg is not able to be here today to provide his report. However, it is attached to the agenda, and if any of you have any questions, please feel free to email me and I will forward those questions to Mr. Sternberg. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Santa Ana Zoo report, Ethan Fisher.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm going to go through the operations report for the Santa Ana Zoo. I'm just going to highlight a few of the larger items that are in the report, and then the full report's available on the website. One really neat program that is coming to fruition is our mountain yellow-legged frog program. This summer, we're going to be releasing a number of mountain yellow-legged frogs back into the local mountain range. We've been rearing these tadpoles for the last 2 years. They're very endangered species, only found in Southern California. And we're working with the LA Zoo, the Aquarium of the Pacific, and the San Diego Zoo, and then a lot of different government agencies on this program. So we're very excited that we're able to release this first cohort. It's a pretty big deal. And I think there will be some press releases coming out about it with all the different partners when this happens. So that's one thing I wanted to highlight. And another thing related to animal services, we are coming very close to opening a brand new butterfly experience at the zoo. We're just waiting for our last permits to come in from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's taken a little bit longer than we anticipated. I was hoping to get it open a little bit sooner, but that's okay. So it's coming along, and hopefully sometime in July we'll be able to open it, and you'll walk through and have hundreds of tropical butterflies flying around. It'll be really neat experience, and we have a lot of great educational signage that talks about the benefits of pollinators and monarch butterflies and their conservation and what you can do locally to support all these species. A few other things related to education. We've rolled out some new story time programs during the weekday mornings. We're done with school field trips now, but we're getting a lot of summer camps that are coming and visiting the zoo. So it's quite busy some mornings. We're making it out to all the different movie nights that are happening throughout the whole summer. So the zoo will be there. And then we've been working on lots of interpretive signage and then new programs that we're going to be rolling out in the fall. Operations wise, we have been doing lots of maintenance projects to spruce up the zoo, small projects like painting, larger projects, electrical projects, all sorts of things, different landscape enhancements. And then we have a lot of larger construction projects that are underway. The otter habitat, that's still moving along. And there's some areas where the public can see what's going on with the construction. Something we've been working towards for a long time now and is now coming up is we have our AZA inspection next week. That's the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And they look at everything for 3 days and talk to all the staff and the city leadership and our nonprofit partner, Friends of Santa Ana Zoo, and taste the food and look in every cabinet. And then we'll follow up by attending the accreditation hearing that would happen in August. Another project that's exciting that the city council just awarded a construction contract for on Tuesday night is for our goat encounter area. We do have an area right now on the farm where you can pet the goats and meet them, but this will transform that area into an area where you can go in with the animals and have them all around you. And it also includes an elevated walkway for the goats, so you can see how they can climb up high, their natural history, and it also expands that area with some new landscaping and trees. Another project that you see if you drive by on First Street, that's the zoo enhancements along First Street in Elk Lane. That's under construction right now. That'll have some new signage, new landscaping, really nice architectural fences. And then we just reopened Elk Lane about 2 weeks ago. That was closed for quite a while due to the construction next to the zoo. So it is reopened with lots of new trees, and the street looks pretty nice. What else? There's some other projects going on. I'll point out related to volunteers. We just had 2 Eagle Scout service projects completed in the past couple months. The zoo has had many Eagle Scout and Girl Scout Gold Award projects. With the Friends of Santa Ana Zoo, our nonprofit partner, they have some Sunset at the Zoo concerts coming up this summer. There's one in June, one in July. And then their big fundraising gala is at the end of August, on August 20th. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
All right, thank you for that. I actually have been approached by multiple different youth or young adults that are looking for employment, and they have asked about the zoo. Are you hiring currently?
We have some positions open. We actually just went through a pretty large hiring blitz. Tim is shaking his head as well. But one program, if they're under 18, one program that they can look into is the Santa Ana Youth Program, because I believe that's still ongoing. And we are one of the facilities that Santa Ana Youth employees come and work at. And we actually have hired some of the Santa Ana youth from that program into positions part-time.
Okay. One that's actually, he's actually over 18. He's actually a college student at Santa Ana College, and he is has autism, and he loves nothing more than the zoo. So how would I get him in contact with somebody to see what's available and how he would apply?
If you send me an email, I can connect you with some resources.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. That's all I have. Anybody else have anything? Any questions? No, okay, so next would be.
Oh, sorry, I meant.
Commissioner Herrera had his hand up.
Oh, sorry about that. Go for it.
Mr. Fisher, yes, great job over there at the zoo. I went with, I went to the Gente Market place. Parking was a little difficult. So I'm curious, there was like a mound of dirt and some guy just like drove up on it. He's like, this is like, it's like a fight for all, it's like, it reminds me of college in terms of, waiting for, so is that being addressed or, it's just kind of first come, first serve?
So that is something that we struggle with when we have very large events that draw lots of people. It's not something that happens on a daily basis, but when we have large events like that are just bringing so many people, it does become a problem with parking, and it's very limiting because we're kind of locked in. There's a dense neighborhood across the street from us. There's apartments on one side of us. There's a freeway on the other, and then there's that small church. So we try to pack people in as best we can, parking wise, but it was a little challenging with the Gente Marketplace. It was very successful and people had a great time. The vendors were very happy. But I will say the biggest pitfall we had with that event was parking.
I agree. I think the city did a good job, and I wasn't one of the first 600 folks, so I didn't get to go and visit. But yes, I think the event was put really well. The only issue was the parking, and I just had to drive around.
Yeah, that's something we struggle with sometimes with big events.
Great. And then I also had another question. I know on the Parks Master Plan it lists the zoo as Prentice Park.
Prentice Park. Yep.
Is that where the marketplace was held, or was there a park previously where the zoo was? Is it what zoo is?
So the whole zoo sits within Prentice Park. It's kind of one and the same. At one time, the zoo was actually called the Prentice Park Zoo. And I believe it was in the 70s or the early 80s that it was changed to the Santa Ana Zoo at Prentice Park.
Interesting. Okay.
But we have a monument. It's on the corner of Elk and First Street right now. It's going to be relocated very soon to a different spot that's a little bit more prominent, and it says Prentice Park on it. But yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. Moving on, Parks and Recreation Community Services Staff Report, Tim Pagano.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Nelson, and welcome everybody. Good evening. Another welcome to Commissioner Herrera on your first meeting here with us today. A lot of exciting stuff going on in Parks and Recreation. I'm very happy to announce that our new Executive Director will be joining us next Monday, June 27th. His name is Hawk Scott. And he has 20 years of experience, and he's going to be joining us from El Paso, Texas, where he was the recreation manager there for quite some years. So very excited to have him here. Obviously he's got very big shoes to fill with Lisa's departing, and we're really excited to have him here and bring him onto the team and really start following his direction for what he has for us in store for us for the future with Parks, Recreation, Community Services. So happy to announce that. And if you have any questions with regards to his experience, I'd be more than happy to run down some details if you are interested. We just had our first ever Juneteenth event last Saturday over at Centennial Park. It was very successful. We had some headliner performers such as the Delphonics, Howard Scott, Slum Village, and quite a few others. We had about 32 vendors, 3 food vendors, children's play area, and we actually had, excuse me one second, I have his book right here. Harlan Lambert, I don't know if you can see that. He was the first African-American police officer hired in Orange County, and he actually had a booth on site and was signing books and everything. And it was really a pleasure to meet him and have a great discussion about his experience and how he contributed to Santa Ana and the Orange County from a law enforcement perspective. Movies in the Park has been going for the last 3 weeks. Every single week it's been growing, and we're really excited because the footprint this year, this is the second year that we're running the Movies in the Park series, has expanded. We've invited vendors and partner agencies such as the zoo and the library and the water department. And having the No Mobile out at each event is really exciting. So far, we've been at Cesar Chavez Campesino Park, Delhi Park, in which we partner with the Orange County Soccer Club. They were running a little bit of a clinic prior to the movie showing. Last night we were at Thornton Park, which was our largest attended event. I think we had about 400 to 450 guests joining us at that movie last night. And for the next 4 until we meet again, on 6/29 we'll be at Jerome Park, 7/6 we'll be at Santiago Park, 7/13 we'll be at Edna Park, and on 7/20 we'll be at Lily King Park. And various movies will be showing. I think Cars, Back to the Future at Santiago, and I believe Luca will be wrapping up the last movie that I mentioned there. 4th of July is right around the corner. We're prepping. Should be a fun night. I encourage everybody to come out to Centennial Park. It's between 5 p.m. and I believe fireworks will shoot off shortly after 8:30 p.m. It's going to be a great night. We have entertainment and a few things that we have in store for the crowd that joins us out there. So picnics, just a good time at the park. Really encourage all the commissioners to come down there. If you've been watching the council meetings, you've noticed that the Parks and Recreation and Community Services Agency is now the special events hub of Santa Ana. During the last meeting, to our menu of services includes the addition of Chicano Heritage Month. We have Hispanic Heritage Month, which is already scheduled to be taking place between September and mid-October. We are going to be featuring the Fiestas Patrias celebration. That will be the 17th and 18th of September. It will be a 2-day festival taking place right here at Civic Center Plaza. And incorporated in that is our first ever Indigenous Peoples Day, which will be fall under the umbrella of Hispanic Heritage Month too. That will be taking place October 8th. And lastly, one of our new events that was just added to our menu of services will be the Moon Festival, which will be October 1st at Rosita Park. So we're really excited about incorporating those events that the council has entrusted to us. Last meeting, July was proclaimed Parks Make Life Better Month, and that's what we aim to do every single day through our programs, events, and activities for the community. So we embrace that, and we're really excited that recreation is back after 2 years of being off. We're really excited as a division to start bringing back the services and the activities that our community has enjoyed for such a long time, and including new and innovative ones that we really hope will meet the needs of the community as well. Some things that are on the horizon, the recreation library and zoo will be combining together to reimagine our recreation brochure. In the past, it's been a 32-page document that I've shared all of our classes, but we are working with a new vendor that will try to capture the aesthetic and the culture of Santa Ana through our library services, our zoo services, and our recreation services. So we're really excited to reimagine what that is and bring that to the community. Lastly, what would probably be most interesting to everybody here, at our last meeting, I know some of you were involved in the naming of the Rate Myrtle Park site. I think we recommended to the Planning Commission that it would be El Refugio Park, but the council, in which they have the ability to do, decided to go in another direction, and they decided to honor Ed Carruthers, who happens to be a Santa Ana resident, who was an Olympian in the 60s and 70s, and had a big influence within Santa Ana community in terms of sports, track and field. And so they decided to name it Carruthers Park, but they still wanted to honor the efforts that were made by the community and the survey that we did, the ad hoc committee that was formed between the Youth Commission and the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. And they decided that they wanted a historical marker designating the El Refugio Adobe placed somewhere within the park. So that was kind of the decision that was made. And so we now have Carruthers Park at the Rayton Myrtle site with the El Refugio historical marker that will be placed within the park. And that's all I have for Parks and Recreation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. I'm a little befuddled by the name of the park because, I mean, that at least put that name on the list if it's an option, right? I mean, I understand it just makes everybody look a bit disjointed and not connected to what we're trying to accomplish here. So, you know, as obviously just a commissioner and a resident, I mean, if that was the case, it would have been nice to have that full understanding. I think as a community. So, how did we get to that point? Who brought that up? Was it a council member? I didn't miss that meeting. So how did that come to fruition?
Sure. So we got wind probably in the first June meeting, I believe June 7th, that Councilmember Hernandez had some questions about how we landed on the initial submission that was approved unanimously by the Parks, Recreation, Community Services Commission, and then subsequently approved unanimously by the Planning Commission. So we were aware that there was some interest in at least him pulling it, which he has every right to do. The day of, he was actually joined by Mayor Pro Tem Becerra and also questioning how the Parks and Recreation Department, conducted the survey and the process that went along with it. During that time, I resourced our planning and building agency just to, kind of find out what, the process was, if we followed the process correctly, so forth and so on. And I also called upon our city attorney's office to see kind of what direction the council could take or what action the council could take if they were to pull it from the consent item list for the council meeting. And essentially what it come down to is that the council has 3 actions that they could have taken. They could have accepted the recommendation. They could say that they didn't accept the recommendation and turn it back to the Planning Commission. Or their third action, which is what they ended up taking, was they could put forward a name at the council level. And if they received majority support, then that would be the name of the park. So they took the third action and they actually received unanimously 7-0 the recommendation of Councilmember Hernandez to name it at Carruthers Park.
Okay. I mean, I understand the process, but I mean, there was a lot of time and energy put in there. It seems that they should have at least given the number 2 an option and waited and given us the ability to research it ourselves. I mean, if that's what we're here to do, then let us do our part and actually speak for what the community wanted. I mean, we can't, having 7-0 is great, but it doesn't necessarily, there was a lot of youth commissioners that were part of that process. I don't think it sets a very good standard of how we do things in Santa Ana if we're just going to push everything to the side. I'm fine with the name, and I love track. I ran track, but let's make this process look like something that's collective. So that's my 2 cents. So. All right. I did have one more thing for you, Tim. You mentioned that there was a youth soccer organization that helped ran a camp and was able to help kind of promote their organization. Is that something that is openly available for other youth organizations to be able to participate in? And what's the process of achieving that if it's possible?
Sure. So at Delhi Park during our Movies in the Park night, we actually have over there the Delhi mini pitch. And that was partly donated by the Orange County Soccer Club, which is the semi-pro team. I forget the league that they play in, but they're relatively new. They play out of Irvine, and so we've been working with them not only on the install of the Delhi mini pitch, But there is going to be some partnering opportunities between the city of Santa Ana and the Orange County Soccer Club in the future. So that was why they were on site that particular day, because of their tie to the Delhi mini pitch and their involvement in bringing it to that park. We do have other community-based organizations that do participate in our movie nights. It's just a matter of connecting with us and seeing if it falls in alignment with, what the movie night series kind of is inspired to do. So if you want to contact me offline, maybe I can ask a few more questions to see if there's something that we have a path forward for there.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I thought it was a youth, like I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was the Orange County Soccer Club. I've misunderstood that. But yeah. Okay. I know there's other, if we have youth organizations that are, nonprofits that are within our city that are able to promote or do something, that it's kind of like the hit, pitch and run things we've done in the past with the city and that kind of stuff. I think those are great for promoting what the volunteer slash youth organizations provide and how they can kind of promote and really be part of it, because movie nights and that kind of stuff are well attended and usually can also spark some interest for our community and our youth. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. You actually bring up a good idea too, is that maybe we should be reaching out to the leagues that are, representative of the parks. If we actually go into the park, it might be a good recruiting mechanism, out of season and everything like that. So let me bring that back to my special events team and see if that may be something we can incorporate in the future.
Fantastic. I have been approached a few times regarding reservations and regarding our limited field space and stuff that we're kind of going with. Seasonally speaking, I understand that our turf fields need to this is the time to get things fixed and growing and looking great for the, going forward. I just see that there's a lot of frustration within a lot of these youth organizations that are regarding where they're being placed and how they're trying to service their programs. I just would like to maybe suggest we look and try and find resources that are within our city or space where they can actually, perform, whether if it's soccer or baseball or whatever, that they're actually able to get on an actual pitch or a field that actually is within the, kind of give them something that's worthy of promoting a youth organization. Because I think if we put them on how do you say this, poor pitch conditions, one, you have a risk of injury, but you also have it just looks really poor on the organization and the city as a whole. So I would really like to see if we could find a way to collaborate. If we're going to be doing this kind of stuff during the summer, if we can try and work with the school district on utilizing some of their fields and their stuff that's not necessarily being fully utilized by some of the facilities in Santa Ana, to kind of keep these guys at all of these in a competitive world of youth sports. The last thing we want is our kids to have to go somewhere else to be serviced and have good fields. And so if we can make that work to figure out some way to collaboratively find those solutions, because I don't see this being something that's going to go away in the future. I mean, yes, we've got some artificial turf ones being replaced that are, I'm sure, causing some strain, but we really need to just kind of look for the future, because I think that we need that 3 months or whatever period of time to really and that's what our youth and our everybody within the city that parks needs to be able to see. So but just if we can keep it rigorous and somewhat professional. So.
Understood. And if I may suggest, I know in recording secretary Sandoval can correct me, but we now have a joint use committee or a joint school district city subcommittee that has been formed. And I think our first meeting is, I think, the 11th of July. And so one of those things, what I would suggest is, to get that conversation started between our school district partners and our council members as far as the use of school district fields. Might be a great, kind of just public comment, or if you connect with one of the council members that sit on that subcommittee, they can always agendize that, because I think that's kind of where that conversation needs to be held, so that we can kind of figure out how we can leverage the resources between the school district and our park system. But duly noted, I have all of the notes and with your comments, Commissioner Nelson.
So the subcommittee is made up of the council members and what other?
School board members.
School board members. So, I've been around this for 20 some odd years now. It's great getting everybody to collaborate, but I don't know how to say this without probably rubbing some people the wrong way, but having those two groups in the same room doesn't necessarily give you any sort of solutions. There's too much political jockeying to make any sort of headway. I think we need to bring it to the level of operation. Yourself, the people that actually know the programming, how things work. Otherwise, I think we're just spinning our wheels. We will never be able to get what is required and desired by our community, either from the school side or just
Understood.
to keep the flow of things going and actually move forward. So.
Understood. I appreciate those comments, and I'll definitely take that under advisement. Thank you.
I have some questions and comments.
Sure.
If no one else is going, I can go. I had Mr. Pagano, I had a question in relationship to the community garden program. I love gardening. I have a little herb garden here at home. It's hard to kind of maintain it with this heat. But in terms of, I know you meant it's mentioned there that there are temporarily reduced hours. And so, can you talk a little bit more about that? I know, spring is a little bit more better for like, but the summer is also a good time to grow, food. So I'm curious in terms of, I'm like, this is a good time to have those programs running. And so I'm curious about a little bit more about that section here.
Sure. Thank you for those questions, Commissioner Herrera. It's largely due to our workforce levels. We had a lot of attrition as we were coming into the summer, but we are addressing those like Manager Fisher said. We have actually explored for the first time, reducing our hiring down to 15 years of age. It used to be at 18 years of age. So we're trying to catch some of those younger individuals that are looking for first-time entry-level jobs. So we received a lot of interest from that particular age group. And we worked with HR to do on-site hiring for the first time, where if you came in and you had an application, you're hired on the spot. And a lot of that was due to, unfortunately, the pandemic. We had to furlough a lot of our part-time staff members. So when I came in, and that was in around September, I calculated our workforce at about 65% of what we actually needed to be. Wow. So when the light switch went on in March saying, hey, we're back and we want to start exploring the idea of bringing recreation programming back to the city and the community, we had to find ways to really address that attrition that we faced in the workforce level. So I'm excited to say that with the budget passed, we have created a health and wellness section within the recreation division. So their focus is going to be the community gardens, our fitness courts, the 5K and Fit Fest, which is going to be one of the special events that will be placed underneath that particular section. And with also the budget passing, we are going to actually be able to hire a recreation program coordinator for the first time. And from my inside sources, it's we are going to be pursuing Veronica Roach, who is our community gardens basically leader. She's been taking charge of that program for a really long time, and we feel bringing her in at a higher level and then giving her the support staff that she needs our community garden program is going to start really taking off and being where it needs to be and everything. So the reduction of hours is strictly due to workforce limitations, but we're addressing that as we speak.
I love it. I love it. I think I love the public gardens and public access to food. So this is great. I want to meet your health and wellness team, specifically the folks that are working on the gardens. And so
wonderful.
I did have Commissioner Wu. Did you want to comment?
Well, no, you just finish and then I will comment.
Great. Thank you.
Good.
I also got some comments for Ward 3 specifically around Cabrillo Park. I know there's a closure. I believe I saw Instagram post relating to it. If you can tell me a little bit more, are there any other planned closures of parks specifically in Ward 3? And
sure.
That way it's a little bit, if I get further questions or something that we can roll out to share to the community, like, some folks are angry that I think they submitted a perp. I don't know, but in terms of communicating that to the public, I think it's important to know when closures happen.
Sure, I'm not disappearing. I'm just going and grabbing a piece of paper off of my desk back here that has the shutdown. Oh, here it is. I thought it was over there. With regards to Cabrillo Park, we went out to bid to do a formation of the irrigation over there. I don't know if you've ever been over to Cabrillo, but there's times where you're just having sitting water in a lot of the grass area, and again, with mud and creating just, there's a lot of factors that just were not good because of just the outdated irrigation. So essentially what you're seeing there is not only the turf renovation, but you're also seeing the complete restructuring of our irrigation system over there to be a little bit more water efficient. I believe, and I'll have to confirm this with our parks maintenance superintendent, George Acevedo, but we're installing WaterSense calibrators in there, which is to help with conservation of water. We're going to be a little bit more efficient with our irrigation system and everything, and we're going to start moving to do that in almost all of our parks. But I think Cabrillo may be the first one because of the fact that we have been planning to do this reformation of the irrigation system over there. With regards to Ward 3, I'm trying to familiarize myself with the parks that are there. Just
I see. Yeah, it's on the north side. Yeah, city.
Yeah, in the spirit of time. Sure. And I want to make sure that I want to be comprehensive and everything. If I can email you offline and kind of give you the timing and everything like that, I think that would probably be the best way to approach that, if that's okay.
Great. I have one last comment.
Sure. Following with that, sorry, Commissioner. Yes, following with that so I know you said there were some people that weren't that were kind of there was like some miscommunication, I guess, with like people that had a permit there or something. What was the public not notified that the park was going to close? To Mr. Pagano, was the public not notified?
I would have to check with our parks maintenance team. I'm more programs and services as far as the notification. I know that one of the things that we struggled with is that when we came out of the pandemic, the time frame of the pandemic, we had a turf renovation schedule that was aligned with us being shut down at all of our community centers and all of our parks and everything like that. And so we had more time and space to address the turf renovation. Well, once the light switch went on, that kind of threw everything into kind of just having to relook at that. For example, at Centennial Park, we had been scheduled to start our turf renovation sometime at the end of May. But with the light switch going on in March, we then had the Juneteenth festival, and now we have the 4th of July back on our radar and our schedule. So we had to work with our parks maintenance team to essentially move back our field renovation to start July 5th and go all the way to the beginning of October. So everything with the, the light switch going on, really we had to go back in and readdress a lot of the turf renovation schedules. So for this year, I can see there being somewhat frustrating. Not really any way to anticipate the schedule as it was for the previous 2 years, but I know our parks team is really working hard to try to get a consistent schedule that can be anticipated moving forward.
Okay. Yeah. If I could just get a follow-up email with regarding
sure.
if if the public was notified and what the process was of notifying them. 'Cause I mean, I bike like right by that park all the time, and yeah, it was pretty much day and night. Like one day it was open, the next day there was fences, and they were tearing up the floor. Yeah, so I would just like the public to be notified, at least the surrounding area.
Sure. And we do have a schedule. Like I said, that's why I rolled back to grab it and everything. So internally, I know that we have a schedule, and that may have been the one that was revised, based on us now being active at our parks. So I will touch base with our park superintendent to determine how we are notifying the public, and then also provide a path forward plan as how we're going to notify the public in the future. And I will follow up with you, Commissioner Torreblanca.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll provide the Parks in Ward 3 as well too, and their scheduled shutdown as well, Commissioner Herrera.
Great, thank you. I just received public comment for it, so I wanted to relay that information to you. My last question I had, Mr. Pagano, was in relationship to the budget that was passed yesterday. I know previously there was a discussion around armed officers at parks. Was that included in the latest budget approval?
I want to say, I will say yes, because I was actually on the RFP team that was reviewing the documentation. Whether or not armed guards in parks is a factor of it, I don't know at this point, because that RFP, the request for proposal, is being run by our Public Works agency at this point. So I was just an evaluator of I think it was 12 agencies that submitted a proposal to win that contract. I think it was narrowed down to 2, and I think both of them had the capability of having armed guards, but whether or not there would be armed guards in parks, I think was still left to be determined, because of the fact that, obviously, from a parks and recreational professionals standpoint, that's tough, right? To bring, armed guards into the park and everything. I think one of the companies, one of their solutions was to have armed supervisors that would be mobile, but the actual guards that would be patrolling the parks would not be armed. But if something were escalated, then the supervisors would be contacted, and then that would be the mechanism as far as having the armed presence within that. But one of the things I learned from the evaluation process is that the armed aspect of it is for defensive purposes only. Your life is in danger and you feel like you need to protect yourself. It is not to detain, arrest, or prevent anybody from leaving, the park or the scene or whatever like that. It's merely for the personal protection of the guard that does have the weapon in question. We also discussed about a lot of non-lethal options, such as pepper spray, pepper balls, that type of stuff. So when in terms of armed, it doesn't always necessarily mean a firearm. It could mean, again, like I said, pepper spray, pepper balls. There was even a pepper gel that was introduced by one of the companies that we were interviewing and everything. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I was just a little worried to have guns at parks, especially if it was a little worrisome for me. And so I wanted to just reflect that on the record, that I would be opposed to having armed guards at our parks. And so
sure.
I appreciate it. You mentioned non-lethal options. That seems like a better option than armed.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Those are all my comments for you, Mr. Pagano. I'm so sorry. I'll hand it off to Commissioner Wu.
Yes, I wanted to ask some questions, but I've run out of time. I have to go to a ComLink part of the ComLink meeting tonight. So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone, and it's nice meeting you, Roberto, and I hope we can meet in person, and I hope the next meeting will be in person so we can all meet each other and discuss. I'm not good at the Zoom meeting, so I had a little bit of trouble. So I'll see you later. Goodbye.
Commissioner Wu, would you like me to follow up with you via email to get your questions?
Yeah, I will call. Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, see here, where are we now? Okay, so thanks, Tim, for all that. Next on the agenda are the commission comments. As this time, each commissioner will provide comments if the you wish. We'll start with Commissioner Matthews.
Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Matthews is absent today.
Yeah, that's right. Commissioner Gomez.
Yeah, I just want to say welcome to Roberto and thank you for sharing the OC Pride history in our city. I love that we are a proud city that's so diverse, and just hearing that history it was really a good treat. I thank city staff for everything they're doing. I'm looking forward to the zoo renovation. I know last time I went, I saw it under construction, but I haven't been back. And no other comments. Actually, I did have a question though. When do we expect the executive director position to be filled, or do we know?
The position has been filled by Mr. Hawk Scott. He will be joining us on Monday, June 27th. It will be his first day.
That's awesome. Thank you. And in regards to the in-person meeting, what's the status on that? I know I've been asking when Lisa was here because it seems like everybody's going back to normal, but we still haven't met in person.
I think it's at the pleasure of the commission. Correct me if I'm wrong, Recording Secretary Sandoval.
Thank you, Manager Pagano. We are working on that. What has happened is that since we do have quite a bit of bodies that meet, and everyone is using either one of the rooms or any other rooms that are not available, that's kind of like one of the challenges that we're running into. But I would say that soon we will be looking at having those meetings in person.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see here. Commissioner Herrera, welcome aboard, by the way. Thank you.
Great. Yes, I do have some comments. I know I'm quite the chatty bunch. I want to thank the Santa Ana residents for joining today over Zoom and YouTube. I also want to thank the Parks and Recs department. Y'all are doing a great job. There's a lot that you all are managing, and you know, my role is to kind of help oversee the department, right? To make sure that everything that information is being translated back to the public, and that the public informs me and I come back to you. So I think, you know, I see that type of relationship. And so I'm very happy over the work that you all been doing. And so I also had an announcement around the pools. So I know it's hot, but AC is going on right now. But if you want to access our pools, we have Memorial Park, Jerome Park, El Salvador Park. They're open every day from 1 to 2:30 and then from 3 to 4:30. So please go cool off in our pools, okay? And that is it. Thank you all so much.
If I may add real quick, Salgado Pool, we just got notification that the heaters have been fixed, and within the next couple weeks, that pool should be back online, and we'll be discussing with Blu-ray what services that we'll be able to provide out of Salgado. So thank you for that reminder, Commissioner Herrera.
Great. Ward 1 residents will love that pool. Great. Thank you so much.
All right. And I believe Commissioner Wu has left the building. So we are now on to Commissioner Terrablanca.
All right. Hey, everyone. So for my commissioner comments, I'd like to thank the public comment that came on board and kind of let us know that budgetary issue. It was to my because it was to my understanding that like a couple months ago, the council voted to give like 66% of that tax like revenue to youth programs. That was my understanding. I mean, I guess that isn't the case. Would it be possible to request a report on how that how that revenue is being divided? Okay. Yeah, that would be great if I could just get that report, just so I can see kind of how that's being split. Because I mean, I wasn't aware. Like I thought it was most of that money was going to youth services, or like the park services, which benefit youth, benefit families, so on and so forth. So yeah, it'd be great to have that information. And that's all on comments. I mean, thank you. It's great to meet you, Commissioner Herrera. Hopefully we can all meet in person soon. You bring a great vibe to this meeting. So I appreciate you. Appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you. I yield my time to the chair.
All right. Let's see. Thank you for that. I have nothing more. I think I've said plenty, but I appreciate everybody's input in thoughts here. So with this, this is the conclusion of the meeting. Next regular meeting will take place Thursday, July 28th, 2022, hopefully in person. And this meeting is adjourned as of 6:52.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Everybody, take care.